Cricket at its absolute best. High drama, high theatre. Anderson against Kohli, part 3. And so far, Jimmy Anderson has come out on top. Trent Bridge absolutely erupted when Kohli was dismissed first ball, and Anderson has dragged England back into this test match. This is where we begin day 3. India 125 for 4. They're trailing by 58 runs. Much to look forward to on day 3. It's a very good morning to you, to DK and to Bumble, but only one place to start. Jimmy Anderson this morning was speaking with Michael Atherton.
Jimmy, morning, only one place to start really, that remarkable piece of theatre yesterday afternoon. 619 test wickets now, but I guess the one of Virat Kohli yesterday will stay long in the memory.
Yeah, it will. I think it's been quite a while since I've got him out as well, so it was quite nice, especially to get such an influential player in their side out early on. And you know, we knew we were, you know, the game was sort of drifting in their favour a little bit, certainly with that opening partnership. So to get us back in the game and to get Virat out early, yeah, really special.
Well, if I show you your celebrations for a grumpy, shy Northerner, you really went off on one here.
Yeah, I was out of breath after that, actually. I needed a couple of minutes just to get my breath back. I don't know why I was that animated, but yeah, like you said, I'm not normally that animated, but I think it's just the fact that, you know, the game situation, the player of the quality of Virat, and as I said, I've not got him out for quite a while, so it's a really nice feeling.
Before we look at that dismissal in detail, and I'm going to show it you in detail in a minute, could you just verbally explain what you were trying to do when Kohli came to the crease?
Yeah, well, sort of the spell I bowled from that end after lunch was we purposely tried to attack the stumps a bit more, make them play a little bit more. So I got some swing in the morning, but maybe didn't make them play quite enough. So we decided to go with a 5-4 field and try and attack the stumps. So I was bowling quite a lot of in-swingers, quite a lot of wobble seam, just to try and push the ball in towards the stumps and make them play as much as possible. It's exactly what I did with Pujara, and then just trying to bowl exactly the same ball to Kohli, and luckily he nicked it. Okay,
well, if we have a look at the mechanics of the dismissal then in detail, you said you're trying to bowl some wobble seam deliveries. This is the dismissal in normal speed, if you like. If we have a look at the grip, first of all, that split finger grip suggests that that's a wobble seam. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And if I just run that forward a little bit, the seam is canted to first slip, but the rough side, if there is a rough side, is on the right-hand side, almost as if you're trying to push that ball into Kohli initially.
Yeah, spot on again. You don't need me for this, do you? You just talk through it yourself.
But if I continue to run that ball through then and see where it lands with the seam actually pointing to fine leg now. Is that just a fluke where it lands on the seam, or are you trying to land it in a specific position?
I'd love to say I'm that good at this, but no, it's an absolute fluke. My thinking there is to try. I'm using the wobble seam grip, so I want it to just the seam to wobble slightly, so it might nip either way off the seam, and then putting the shiny side on the left, trying to angle it in. So if there's any swing, it'll drift in. Then it might seem either way once it hits the pitch. So yeah, it's just trying to make them play basically. So if I'd have bowled that ball but with an outswing shape, there's every chance that he would have left it. So it's just trying to make them play, trying to drag them into that shot, and also trying to bring the stumps into play as much as possible.
And similarly, you just got Cheteshwar Pujara, another fine batsman, perhaps not quite as dramatic a moment, but a very similar delivery to get him as well. If we have a look at this in full speed, he's slightly pushing it in and nipping it away. But again, if we look at the mechanics and the specifics of it, very similar split grip, similar seam position, but have a look at this one, where it lands. If we run this through, rather mesmerising looking at the seam position, but when it lands, it actually lands the other way, pointing to first slip. It's unbelievable how you're delivering the ball in exactly the same way, but the seam is landing slightly differently for the Pujara dismissal.
Yeah, again, a complete fluke. I think the important thing is when you're bowling like this is the area that you hit. If you hit a good length, if you hit the right line, you're making them play. There'll be balls I'll bowl like that, and it might miss the seam altogether, and it hits the middle of the bat. So it's just trying to do it consistently, doing it relentlessly all day, and hopefully the odd one, certainly on a pitch like this that's got some grass on it, it might do something either way.
If I take you back to the start of the day, you referenced it yourself actually. You started at the pavilion end. You bowled 6 overs, 5 maidens, none for 1, and the figures sound good. But my impression was, and I think you confirmed it, that you were just searching for your best rhythm a little bit at the start of the day?
Yeah, I think it was a tricky one because when you've got a low score on the board, you don't want to give away easy runs. So it's trying to find the balance of attacking enough, making them play enough, but also, especially at the start of the day, you want to really set the tone, make sure you create some pressure. And that's what we tried to do. I thought Ollie bowled really well at the other end as well. But yeah, maybe, looking, if I'm being really critical of myself, could have made them play a little bit more, maybe push my length up a little bit more. But one thing we have seen on this wicket is that the scoring option is the fuller ball. The half volley's been punished. So we were quite conscious of that as well. And I think when India put pressure on us when they bowled a lot sort of good length or back of a length. So it wasn't just throwing the ball up there and hoping for it to swing. It was some quite controlled pressure that they built for long periods of time.
If I show you the beehive and the Hawkeye of that first spell, I think that illustrates the point. By your own high standards, you'd want a few more of those yellow balls there to be tighter to off stump.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was getting some swing, and I think, again, settling into a spell, I wasn't trying too many different things. When you are in rhythm or you're feeling more confident, then you can maybe try a few more things. I might have tried a few more in-swingers, a few more wobble seams, just to try and bring that off stump into play more often. But like I said, I was conscious of trying to build some pressure and not give them any freebies to score off. So yeah, maybe got the balance, didn't quite get the balance right in the morning, but something we tried to correct after lunch.
And how much of that is coming to terms with the lack of bowling? I know you're extremely experienced now, 39 years of age, you bowl hundreds of thousands of overs, but you hadn't bowled in a game for a month. We heard Marcus Trescothick after the first day's play express some frustration because of the schedule about the lack of first-class cricket. How much of that had an impact in your early spell?
Yeah, it might have. I think, as I said, you may be searching for rhythm in the first part of the game, and I didn't feel particularly out of rhythm, but I didn't feel 100%, bang on. And you kind of feel your way in. And then, luckily for me, when I changed ends, went the other end after lunch, first ball, I felt really bang on in rhythm. Felt really confident. Felt like I could try a few more things. And that's when we went to the, predominantly sort of in swing or wobble in, and less out swing. So it's just it can be a confidence thing, but it's something that hopefully as a bowler you want to get it as soon as you can in the game. And for me, luckily that came quite early on.
Looks like it's going to be a game of tight margins, a low scoring-ish game. There was a catch that went down yesterday off you. Dom Sibley put one down. Nobody puts them down on purpose, but it's not necessarily been a forte of England's of late, the slip catching. Is that a little bit of an area of concern?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the stats behind it, our catch percentage in the slips isn't where we want it to be, and it's something that I see the guys working incredibly hard on it, doing lots of work, lots of a volume of catching, really, trying to get better at it, trying to get the right people in the right position, and I think it's just a case of, it's something that in the last sort of 2 or 3 years we've changed personnel in there quite a lot, so that can be quite hard as well. I think it's about trying to stick with the same people and make sure they just give them time to get used to that position.
Looking ahead to this morning with Rishabh Pant in it could be a lively old start to the day.
Yeah, well, he showed his intentions yesterday, didn't he? Charging me third ball. So, I think we know exactly what to expect from him, or not what to expect from him, actually. Very unpredictable. But he's going to be aggressive. He's going to play the odd shot that is out of the ordinary. Wouldn't put it past him to try a reverse sweep at some point. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think on this wicket, you can kind of just try and bowl your best ball every ball. I think if he plays that way, it could be quite difficult for him to get hold of some. If we keep bowling relentless in the same area, getting the ball to move, and that's all we can do.
And finally, I know you don't look at these kind of things in the middle of an important test match, and perhaps there are more things to look at towards the end of your career, but the list now, that drop catch, had it been taken, would have taken you past Anil Kumble. It must give you a great thrill to look at that list and see just Murali and Shane Warne ahead of you.
Yeah, it's incredible. I still, when you see the list like that and the names above and below, it's just incredible to think of what I've achieved. So I'm just, delighted with it, and I'm still feeling fresh and fit, and I'm hoping that there's plenty more to come.
Many thanks for your time. Fantastic to listen to you.
Cheers, Af.
Staggering numbers, a fascinating interview. And didn't Mike Clapton have a touch of the Richie Benaud about him? The beige, the bone, the off-white, the ivory. I mean, that was a fascinating interview, listening to him go and talk about his craft.
It's a wonderful, informative interview, and the way that he expands, it reminds me so much, and I'm really going back to older viewers who remember Brian Statham, Lancastrian like Jimmy Anderson, exactly the same sort of bowler, deadly accurate, but the same thing applied. I had to interview Brian Statham after he'd retired, and I showed him the ball, I threw him the ball. He said, I know exactly where it's going, I know my accuracy, but once it lands, I don't know what he's doing. More importantly, the batsman doesn't know what he's doing, but I know where it's going. And so he's very, very similar. The longevity that he's got, and from him starting his career as this raw young lad from Burnley with that, do you remember him with a streak in his hair? He had this blonde streak, 90 miles an hour all over the place. It's been a great journey.
It has, but it's been a long journey as well. He's had to work exceptionally hard. They try to remodel his action, all that sort of stuff. Who's been keeping him grounded, would you say, and pointing him in the right direction?
Well, you can. Each individual would have an individual coach, and he's one that you can go through them. Mike Watkinson for a start, Glenn Chappell for another. Into England, Otis Gibson and David Saker. And he would work with them. It's almost like a golfer who would work with a professional. He'd work with him and watching and tinkering and just, have you any observations? The longevity of that lad, I've told this story many, many times. I went into Old Trafford for a bit of treatment in January. January's freezing cold in Manchester. I'm driving in, 8 o'clock in the morning, running out of the gate with a bob hat on and all the lycra, whatever they wear, Jimmy Anderson running round the streets. And he was 36 years of age doing that. That's ambition, it's commitment.
Before we get into the specifics of what Jimmy was doing yesterday, particularly to Virat Kohli, he has dragged England back into this test match with that performance yesterday, hasn't he?
Oh, most definitely. I think India were up and away and running away with this test match in a very fast fashion. But those 2 wickets completely put the brakes on India.
How do batsmen around the world view Jimmy Anderson in these conditions, would you say?
A lot of the times, you're rated as a batsman, at least within yourself, with how well you can play Anderson and abroad. They've been playing them 1,000 wickets amongst them. So, when you come up against them, you need to bring your A game to the party every day to do well.
How would you set up to face him? What would be your worry in facing Jimmy Anderson? Where do you think he would challenge you most?
Exactly like what he's done to a Pujara and a Virat Kohli. He could bowl an in-swing, but consistently have the wherewithal in such a way that he lands the seam and it goes away. There's not much you can do as a batter because you're committed into a shot, which is exactly what he wants you to do, and then the ball just does enough. This Duke's ball can be a hard one.
Talks there about the wobble seam, and that is the progression of him, the bowler, isn't it? I mean, Mike Watkinson was the first one to show him how to swing it, but he himself has worked out this wobble seam. Has that taken him to a new level, would you say?
Absolutely, and I think bowlers around the world, they're all doing it. Oh, he's bowled a wobble seam. That'll be bowlers everywhere in international cricket, so it's another extension. The interesting thing is, I know what I want to do, and I can execute it, I can do it, I can land it. The most important thing is, after that, I don't know what's happening. He said fluke about 3 times. So if he doesn't know, and it's 3 metres from the batsman doesn't know either. It's like DK says, that he's accurate enough that you have to play. We've discussed about Kohli. Did he have to play? Yes, he did.
Oh, most definitely. As a batter, when you see an in-swing coming towards you and slightly fuller in length, you can't leave that. You have to play it.
It was fascinating in that interview when he was saying about the Kohli dismissal that he wanted to tighten his line, but he wanted to shine that way, so maybe still going to wobble it, but he wants to angle it in, and then it nips away.
Oh yes, if you do notice, for an in-swinger, this is how they hold the ball with the shiny side to the left of you, so the ball goes in. But what Anderson does is goes slightly in such a way that the same position is towards the slips. So what it does is it doesn't swing as much, but he's got such a good wrist position as a batter. It gives you the feel like it's going to be an in-swing. Doesn't swing as much, but if it hits the seam, which it almost most certainly does every time, he just does enough to get the edge.
Well, let's review that delivery yesterday. So talk us through it, DK. What are you seeing here?
As a batter, you're committed to playing knowing it's an in-swing. There, exactly at that point, hits the seam and just does enough for it to get there. That's the hard part.
Well, let's do it again then. So can you spot this, do you think, as a
Can we
batsman?
just go to the start what he was just that release to see how special Jimmy Anderson is in doing the seam is basically facing the slip. But what he's looking to do with the wrist, if you notice, he's looking to bowl an in-swing. The shinier side, if you may see it, or the rough side is to your right. So the ball is he's looking to bowl an in-swing, but the seam is facing the slip. So as a batter, you're committed to playing at it. There's no other option but to play it, which is exactly what Virat Kohli does. First ball comes on the front foot. Pujara doesn't stretch as much, but Virat Kohli stretches, comes on the front foot. The ball has hit the seam now. Now is where what Bumble speaks about comes in, and what James Anderson says, the fluke. After it hits the ground, if it's landed on the seam, it could go either way. If it comes in, with Virat Kohli's technique is hitting his bat. But if it's straight in enough, there's a great chance you'll get beaten on many days. But if you have a bad day on that one, you're nicking that for
But
sure.
we're not talking about lavish movement, are we? If we have a look at it from, say, the batsman's perspective, it's not huge deviations, is it?
We keep speaking about a game being game of inches, and this is exactly the inches we speak about. 3 inches this way is hit Virat Kohli's bat in the center of it. He's feeling good, he's ready to go. 3 inches the other way, he nicks off, and he's just desolate, just taunted a lot of times looking what is he going to do.
It's the angle, isn't it? It's the angle that's coming in that forces the batsman to play.
Yeah, and again, he will have seen the shine, and he's thinking he's mentally programmed. In swing, it's going to come in. I have to play on the angle. He's making me play. He's bowled it right. It pitches, and it's slight deviation. It's not much, and that's when it just takes the edge. And it'd be absolutely box office if you could get the pair of them together. Right, talk us through that delivery. How were you covering it? Because he's done everything right, Virat Kohli. He has to play at it, but it's the genius of the bowler. Just on this occasion. And Kohli will have his occasions. On this occasion, Anderson wins.
You wanted to have a look at it from this perspective as well, DK.
Yes.
So
What
this is
Jimmy is
from
planning to do, he's bowled that ball now, and it just does enough, exactly the amount he would like it to do when it hits the seam. And that's more than enough, and that's what makes Jimmy a genius. He doesn't want the big in-swing. He just wants you to give a feeling like it's coming in. But the seam and the moment it pitches is where the trick is, and he's really good at that.
The other thing was his first spell, by his own admission, he didn't quite get it right. It was a little bit wide, tactics wrong. He's able to go in, reassess, and instantly change it.
Yeah, they're not machines, and that's what happens. They will assess how they've bowled as a unit, the bowlers themselves. They'd have a bowling coach, John Lewis, who would sit with them, and then they come up with a different plan. So when we hear the interview, he said, we decided after that opening spell where we didn't make them play enough, we're going to bowl more in swing, more wobble seam, and make them play, attack the stumps a lot more.
England would have loved to have bowled a bit more yesterday with those conditions, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, but I'm just looking at conditions today. It's a bit more blustery today. It's a little bit cooler. There is still cloud around. There's 2 deliveries to go in this over. They've got to get a partnership together, India, and Pant, as he says, will be unpredictable. And so both teams will be vying for position this first hour.
What will be the key for India today then? At the moment, the deficit is 58 runs. It could be small margins this test match. So how important would a first innings lead be?
I think if it's below 25, it wouldn't make much of a difference, but the moment it keeps crossing 25, there's a massive difference. And for that, 2 batters, Rishabh Pant and Jadeja, have to bat exactly the way Rishabh Pant is started right now. KL Rahul doing exactly what he's done, but Rishabh Pant, the key man there.
How would you handle Rishabh Pant? Would you kick him out the door and say, mate, just go and play? Or can you be very positive but slightly reckless at the same time? Is there a fine line there?
I think with Rishabh Pant, as a coach, you got to make sure you're thick skin. You're ready for the bad shot sometimes, but if it gets going, the game is in your hands. Let him be. You got to do all the work in saying, I'm just going to be quiet and watch him enjoy his cricket. Be the person that you are, and that's what India needs.
Well, we've dealt with Jimmy Anderson. After the break, we will deal with some of the other bowlers, and notably Ollie Robinson, who had a very good day yesterday. We get the thoughts of Kumar Sangakkara and Sir Andrew Strauss.
As a sidekick to a hero, it's important I'm ready for the unexpected. Like when a villain makes an impromptu visit and you're clean out of throwing stars. Which is why I bought these with my credit card. How long have you been there?
Not long.
It lets me be flexible with my cash, plus I get up to 56 days interest free if I pay in full and on time.
You are going to pay for this.
Yeah, but not for up to 56 days we won't. Ooh. To find out more, search Barclaycard Sidekicks.
Well, now, I think I finally discovered the secret of why you're such a popular little tenor. It's the £250 free excess cover. Go Compare have given back over £1 million to drivers who claim their excess back. What do you say to that?
Go compare! Go compare!
£1 million? What's not to love?
Order today at Newman.com.
When we designed the Volkswagen ID3, we didn't want to change the world. We didn't want to make an impact. We didn't want to leave much of an impression at all, really. That's why we built it, net carbon neutral. Introducing the all-electric Volkswagen ID3, created net carbon neutral.
When you book a holiday home on Vrbo, it's easy to find the perfect place to escape to and get lost in. So book today and get away together with Vrbo.
With Sky Store, you're in for a family adventure.
Are you Peter?
That depends who's asking.
My family's in trouble, and I'm going to get them back.
I got this. We have a job to do.
Let's have some fun.
This is crazy.
Here's bad rap, just like your dad. Did you miss me?
Peter Rabbit 2, available now in Sky Store, the ultimate movie collection.
Difficult day, Bumble, for England yesterday.
Well, can they redeem it?
This is the first time I'm coming here as a commentator with Sky. Look what they're making me do.
Too many things. I know what I know. You know what I mean.
Where's she been?
Now, you've gone off for a pint at the trip to Jerusalem, haven't you?
I'm not aware. Too many things. I know what I know.
A beauty gets a nod of approval. Not quite.
Just one you live.
Watch these Indian batsmen all day, couldn't you? We probably all have to.
Edged and away.
Short ball. It's straight to Sankaran.
Tonight for England, breakthrough. Just on the stroke of lunch, 97 for 1.
I know Rohit well. I don't even think he'll have lunch. He likes the lunch, but this one, he wouldn't have had.
He's a bit of a truffer like yourself, isn't he?
hopefully there will be no need for covers again for the rest of the evening. I know they're calling them back. Alas, the covers are back on.
Well, we only had 33 overs and 4 balls yesterday, but it was thrilling cricket, and day 3 promises much. You can see highlights of the cricket that we will have seen at 10:30 on Sky Sports 100 this evening. Earlier highlights of day 3 are available on Sky Sports Cricket YouTube channel. There's also action from the 100 today from the men and the women's side of the competition. Welsh fire against Trent Rockets. It's the women's game from 3, the men's from 6:45. Hopefully down in Cardiff the weather will be fine. It's fine here at the moment in Nottingham. Dreadful yesterday, so the pitch has been undercover all night. What has it done to the surface? Well, Mel Jones has been having a look.
Wonderful to see the hover cover is off here at Trent Bridge at the start of day 3, so we can have a really good look at what the pitch has on offer. A reminder, day 1, Michael Holding spoke about the 10 millimetres of grass on the pitch here, and you can see as you just walk down here, keeping it full is runs on offer. We've seen that from both sides today. It is a good length that the bowlers are going to be trying to work away at a quite a tight, narrow line to the outside of off stump. And what you can see here is still some live grass on offer, some grass that's sort of worn out a little bit in some patches, but most importantly, some divots coming out of the pitch as well. So, if they're skillful enough, they'll be trying to look at those kind of areas. Ollie Robinson, Stuart Broad, Sam Curran and Jimmy Anderson will be trying to bowl on that nice straight line, trying to get the outside edge and bring Joss Butler and the slips into play.
Thanks, Mel. Well, maybe those divots will come into play as the test match goes on. If it's the upside, it might go up. Bit of uneven bounce, who knows? Kumar Sangakkara, Andrew Strauss, good morning. How do you see it?
Well, it's intriguingly poised, isn't it? I mean, at one stage yesterday, it was all India. The India openers, Sharma and Rao, did a brilliant job of sort of getting over that new ball. And you thought India going to run away with it. But that crazy session at the end of play yesterday brought England right back into it. The big question is Rishabh Pant this morning. I mean, you'd think he can't play like that in these conditions, but he's a very talented player. Maybe he can.
Three former batsmen, we can say this now. Isn't Test match cricket more exciting when the bowlers are on top?
Well, not really. Not really for us. No, but I mean, it's a typical English day. The weather was great to start with. The batters looked on top. A false hook shot from Rohit Sharma brings England slightly back into the game, and then the weather changes, and it's carnage and chaos. But what a wonderful session of play in the crowd for us in the commentary box. Probably not for the batters. Wonderful to watch.
But after lunch then, how challenging batting conditions was that yesterday?
Well, it was very challenging, and it's not just because of the swing, it's also because of seam. And I think the combination of that was what really made it hard for batters. Swing, if it swings early, you know what it's going to do. But if it swings and then off the pitch does something completely different, it gets even more harder. And I thought what happened to Pujara and Kohli was just an example of a bowler at the peak of his skills, but also the ability of the weather, the pitch to play a part in being unpredictable and making it even more challenging.
Well, we've spoken obviously about Jimmy Anderson, and it was absolute theatre yesterday. He took 2 wickets, but I'd like to speak to you both about Ollie Robinson. How did he go yesterday, and what are his attributes, would you say?
It's an interesting character, Ollie Robinson. Obviously taken a bit of time to mature into first-class cricket even, but when you look at his lengths and the ability to angle the ball into batsmen, he looks very threatening, especially when, as you say, Kumar, there's a little bit of nibble there. He bowled brilliantly at Lords against New Zealand, and no one's looked comfortable against him, not just surviving, but also scoring. I mean, he seems like a very hard guy to score off. We talked about him looking a little bit like Joss Hazlewood in the way he bowls, and he will be good in Australia, but I've been very impressed with him. There we are.
What do you like?
This is accuracy again. He holds a really good length. Of course, it doesn't hit the stumps as much, but that's his natural length. And from there onwards, he goes in surge once in a while, drops a little bit shorter. But that overall control, the bounce, his ability to swing and seam the ball, they're all wonderful things to like. He's not high paced, but he's highly skilled.
It's interesting about Robinson's length. I mean, he doesn't hit the stumps because he's so tall and his natural length. But also, Jimmy saying in that interview with Michael Atherton, the scoring ball is the long half volley. So in the first innings, when India bowled, we were talking about Shami maybe pitching the ball up a little bit more, not beating the outside edge, but taking the outside edge. The problem with that is,
as Anderson said, it's a half volley, it goes for 4. You've then got to reset everything and try and build that pressure again.
Well, I think that's right. And when you've only got 183 on the board, you just can't afford India to get momentum. And, you know, you think about those openers yesterday, they were very good when the ball was there to hit. They hit it. And so when you've got a bowling attack with Broad and Anderson in it, the third seamer's role is crucial. You cannot release the pressure. And I thought he did that very, very well yesterday.
So is that a risk-reward balance that you've got to strike? Absolutely, especially at the start with the new ball, you need to be able to strike and get wickets. So are you going to sacrifice a few more runs by being a little fuller and bringing those shots into play? Or are you going to hold? Those are decisions that you make. But I think what Strauss's point is really important, because you have a varied pace attack with varying lengths that they bowl and hold. So Shami, for instance, for the Indians, if he tries to bowl too full all the time, he might end up bowling a lot more half volleys. But if he holds his length and once in a while pushes it a little bit forward, that kind of constant pressure of having to leave or defend might bring in a false shot where the batter is not really to the pitch of the ball with the feet. So you kind of play it differently. But the crucial thing is being in control of your strengths as a bowler. And it's great to see that all the bowlers from India and England really stuck to their strengths, controlled line, controlled length, and really let the pitch and the conditions do the rest.
I just think the other thing to consider is on this pitch, you can afford to be patient as a bowler because a batsman's never in, because there's movement there. Bowling a few maidens is not a problem. Some pitches where you know it's only going to swing for a few overs, you've got to gamble, haven't you? You've got to go, oh, I'm going to go very full, because hopefully I'll get a wicket or two, because in 10 overs time it's going to be very flat. On this pitch, just holding your line's length, building pressure is the way to go.
Where does the captain's role come in this in terms of setting the field? I mean, can you be a bit more defensive in the ring, have an extra cover in with less catches? How do you go about it? Or do you want to tempt someone to go through it?
I think if the ball is swinging and there is movement, you tempt. And then from there onwards, you basically have cover to give the ball confidence to say, okay, if you make an error, you don't really have to adjust much. You have cover. The bowler's got to own the field as well, because if you're a fast bowler with a new ball in England, you know exactly where you want your fielders. You want your slip cordon covered, maybe a back pad at times, and then maybe a short mid-wicket short extra at times to catch. The rest is up to the captain to do with whatever he wants, because it's just noise and smoke to kind of divert the batter's attention, build pressure maybe, but the bowler is only going to get you in the slips, LBW, hold, wicketkeeper.
With the conditions we have overhead, clouds starting to fill in again, and the pitch, there are going to be edges. The game might be won on small margins. You can't be doing this, can you?
You can't, not with the 183 on the board. And it's been a bit of a common theme for England over the last couple of years, and it's a symptom of, in some ways, of not being a settled team. You know, when you've got guys coming in and out, and then you're swapping one guy from first slip to second slip, etc. I mean, that is yes, it was down low to his left on Sibley, but you're taking those, aren't you? If you're a regulation, if you're second slip all the time, you've got to take that pretty much 10 times out of 10.
It's not often that England slip catching is just above Bangladesh, one of the worst in the world since January 2019. And I think being unsettled, and also sometimes form in your core skill carries on or forwards into what you do on the field. So when you're in form and batting well, you're not really thinking about too many things. You're focusing on the ball, but maybe a few doubts creeping in.
Someone once said to me, show me a guy that's catching well, I'll show you a guy that's batting well. But they are sort of linked, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's always the case, because your mind needs to be focused in the state. It needs to be clear. You can't worry about what happened with your batting innings or what's going to happen in your next batting innings. Will I be in or will I be out? But we are all human, and these thoughts come in, and sometimes the fraction of a second where your thoughts are not quite there, you miss.
What can you do about it? Because they're practicing hard. We see them practice all the time, but it's sort of, do you get to the point where, oh no, another one's gone down, and it sort of permeates around the dressing room?
It does feel like a bit of a cancer, doesn't it? And it's also linked to how you do collectively. If you're not scoring runs as a group, and you've only got 180 to defend, you're more on edge. You know you have to catch it. When you've scored 550, there's a bit more relaxation in the corner. You have to keep working on it. You have to keep catching the balls day in, day out. And then it's a form game. You snap a good one, and now you feel I'm back in nick. That's the way it works.
What impressed you with KL Rahul yesterday and the way he batted?
Well, I think it was just simplicity again. There's not a huge amount of complicated complicated maneuvers or manipulations you can do, technique-wise or mindset-wise. You look for balls to score. He had some luck. He edged a few. Typical batting in England, where even you could be the best batter in the world, but this is how you bat. And you are. It's okay to make a mistake and not be perfect. But the key is mindset. Defend well. Get beaten, forget about it. But when the ball is there in your area to be hit, put it away. Because if you're worried about swing steam and wondering about the what ifs, the ball that is there to score, you don't put away. Pressure builds, you get out. But he kept it simple, look to score. That's why he batted well.
How do you stay in that mindset then? You're fighting it out. You've got Anderson and Broad and Robinson, the ball's nipping around. Then you do get a half volley to be able to just see it and hit it without any of that tension that might be
But I
building.
think both Raul and Sean, because they're such good white ball players, I think their instinct's always to look to score, actually. And it was a treat, wasn't it, watching those two from a technical point of view yesterday. I thought it was fantastic, a great battle between bat and ball. They rode their luck at times, but it's a shot to nothing for Raul. He's India's fourth best opener in a lot of ways. He's got his opportunity to really grab that spot now.
Is this test match we won on small margins?
Absolutely. And Rishabh Pant is going to shift the margins one way or another very quickly this morning.
Well, India are 58 runs behind England at the moment. They are 4 down. England again will be looking at Jimmy Anderson to do something special, as he's done so for many years.
James Anderson, a space for the man.
There's a gorgeous delivery from Jimmy Anderson. It's picked up Kohli, first bowler.
Well, we're into day 3. Could call it crucial day. Moving day. Should be a cracking first hour this. 125 before India. The ball out 183. Jimmy Anderson very much to the fore. Yesterday, wonderful bowling. Only Robinson bowled exceptionally well. KL Rahul is there for India. He's played very, very well for his 57. Rishabh Pant. Well, we don't know what's going to happen with Rishabh Pant. He's a bit of a pantomime. Plenty of shots. He'll play his only way. And Jimmy Anderson's got 2 deliveries of his 14th over, the 47th over of the game. A cracking first hour, Dinesh.
Morning, Bambu. A great car ride on the way with you, and here we are. It's been a long over, isn't it? It's been going for a day and a half now.
Yeah, I brought you in this morning. I treated you to a bit of Rolling Stones, a bit of Jerry Lee Lewis, the Dire Straits.
I tell you what, you impressed me more than the songs with the car, with your choice of car. I loved it.
Well, you're very kind. It's for the dogs. Get the dogs in. India trail by 58. Jimmy Anderson absolutely on song yesterday afternoon, and yesterday morning he said that he didn't just get it right. Weather conditions, it's a little bit blustery, certainly cloud around, the lights are not on. I guess they might get on later, it's still cloudy away to our right, wherever that is, east or west, north or south. It's over there.
Get on with it.
4 on the leg side, split field, so we were listening to the interview with Anderson this morning, and the ball at the stumps. Like that.
Well, great start to the day. Bumble on the money, so is James Anderson, but KL Rahul as well. Perfect defense for a single.
I thought it was an interesting thing that Anderson said in that interview. We know what to expect from Pant. In fact, no, we don't know what to expect from Pant.
To be fair, I don't think anybody knows what to expect from Pant himself. He's just going to pick one ball and just give it a go. I tell you what's the shot that Jimmy is most worried about. I think it hits his ego a little bit, the reverse sweep.
He mentioned the reverse sweep, and he also mentioned on his third delivery, he come dancing down the pitch at me. But he's going to go around the wicket. You can see, it is quite blustery today. 2 slips and a gully. That's the end of that over. Be interested in who do we think will open the bowling alongside Anderson?
Let's just say, I'm feeling it's Ollie Robbins. He's walking up. Rather slow walk then.
Do you know, I thought he bowled really well, Robinson, yesterday, in a couple of LBW shouts and appeals which didn't go his way, but he looks at no nonsense. He's a strong bowler. He's not quick. Light. He's same sort of thing. 2 slips and a gully. James Foster there at the back, so wicket keeper Paul Collingwood alongside Chris Silverwood. A bit of a loosener, a bit of shape. There's the breeze. Oh, the breeze is opposite to that shape that he just got there, outswing. The way that Dan Lawrence got out. Just a little fiddle down the leg side. Full house expected again today. It's not full yet by any stretch.
They're walking in both. They're all coming.
Yeah, walking in from the city. And it is quite a pleasant walk as you move from the city, whether from the station, bus station.
It is. It's nice to walk. They maybe do that on a scooter.
I've seen there are some licensed scooters around, some yellow scooters which you went on. I've seen that you're airing around town.
Have you ridden one like that?
No, I haven't. I'm tempted. Swing from Robinson. I talk about him. He's new to Test match cricket, Ollie Robinson, but he's got a strong action. He's a good build. Easy run up. Looks to be an action that doesn't take too much out of him. As always, when you see a new bowler come on, you just think, can he couple of miles per hour? Can he put a couple on, 2 or 3?
Good call there by Pant. Found the money. I don't think there was a single there. Well, the one thing that the Indian team can't afford to do is get run out again. I think Ajinkya Rahane was a critical player in this innings. coach. They must have been very happy. The last half an hour happened yesterday. It was theatre, wasn't it?
Well, it was terrific. Great drama. 26 for 4. Starts tonight. I nearly pulled you up this morning because we came past Notts County ground. You said there's another ground, Nottingham Foresters.
Yeah, that is. Isn't that the one I was talking about?
No, that's the Foresters.
Is it fair for me to assume that they will beat Accrington?
No, it's not. We give them a good game. And Nottingham Forest is Stuart Broad's team, very much so. He's a big follower. Close, just across the river from each other. Squeeze into the lakeside for a couple. It's raining. Oh, he's down the pitch again and he's crashed it through extra cover.
What a shot!
Jimmy said the third goal that he's got
Yeah,
to
I
score,
was
he's probably going to step
for
over
what
the
a amazing
step up and
shot.
covers.
That was.
Must be very disheartening as a fast bowler when somebody steps out and knocks you over covers, isn't it?
I don't think he'd be worried too much if he's got the conditions of the rain, and I think they're going to go off. It's just this rain has come in from nowhere, so this yesterday quite often players are trudging off. Ground staff will have to get to work and get the covers on.
Yeah, it's
the ground
raining
staff I think have been caught out not expecting this rain. Coming on with the plastic covers, we're waiting for the big hover cover as well. Let's hope it's just a small shower. It's raining quite heavily. We should try and make sure that the rain doesn't drop onto the pitch. But he's announced himself there, Rishabh Pant, dancing down the pitch and crashing one through extra cover. It's on now. Got the pitch covered. Stuart Broad is the last one to leave the pitch. He's just strolling off. I don't think it's going to be too much, really. Well, the ground staff are putting the big plastic sheets on.
Oh, wow. A few umbrellas are out. India 132 for 4. KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant in. They're still batting. Very interesting shot play for Rishabh Pant at the end though, before the rains came in.
Just looking at the ground staff, they're putting lots of covers on. Not much to report this morning, other than that shot from Pant. India trail by 51. Just wait for this rain to go away. already is getting better. Hopefully. But to a short break.
Morning, Jim.
Morning. You alright?
Should be a cracking first down of it. And he's crashed it through extra cover. This Raiders has come in from nowhere.
That was outside. I thought that was out. I won't make a good umpire, Mikey.
Missed. Danny don't care of the grip. That's
There was a noise. Roots has reviewed straight away. There's clear daylight between bat and ball.
shots. India have just pushed ahead.
There'll be some words from Joe Root to his men ahead of this session. Oh, down it goes. England's slip catching is so fallible. They put one down yesterday, and this time Joe Root at first.
Pin.
Edge. It is. Anderson has his man at last. This time, good catch, Joe Root. Low and to his left, diving away. All smiles now, as is Anderson, who has his fourth.
Lovely stuff from Ravi Jadeja. Oh, mix up. What is going on in the last 10 minutes?
Broad. Good catch. Good catch, Stuart Broad. And 5 for Ollie Robinson. The Indian innings is over at last. Their lead 95.
Lovely catching. Wally wing off again.
Okay, well, the sun is shining, but it's still raining, and play has been abandoned for the day.
Well, despite losing over a day's play to weather and poor overrates, this game is still in the balance. All results still possible with 2 days to go. Day 4 of the first test gets underway at 11 o'clock. 196 overs left in the game. There is plenty to play for. The weather forecast is much better. That is the good news. England trail by 70 runs. They are 25 without loss. Burns 11 not out. Tom Sibley is 9 not out. So very good morning to you, to Mel and to Andrew Strauss. This is all about England's top order today, isn't it?
It is, Dave.
Two available now in Sky Store, the ultimate movie collection.
Sky Cinema with so many.
Hundred kicks off this evening, and this afternoon it's the Welsh Fire versus the Trent Rockets. Women at 3 o'clock, men at 6:45. So lots of covers have been put on the ground. That's where we are. We've had very little this morning. India trail by 51. We've seen a cracking shot from Rishabh Pant. We're just waiting patiently for this rain. I think it's stopped, but there's plenty of covers on. Not much this morning. Michael Atherton's in that third man's chair. Have you seen anything?
Well, we've not had much cricket, as you say, but I've had the impression that England have thought long and hard about KL Rahul, who obviously played well yesterday. If we recall how England had some success against him in 2018, he had a difficult series here, finished with 100 at the Oval, dismissals in England in the series in 2018. Lots of balls hitting the stumps. If I show you the first 90 balls that England bowled at him yesterday, very wide, only 2 balls would have hit the stumps. And listening to Jimmy Anderson on interview this morning, he was talking about having a split field, more fielders on the leg side to allow him to bowl straighter. You mentioned it straight away on commentary this morning. He's got a 5-4 field, split field to allow him to bowl straight. And just those early signs this morning at KL Rahul that they've slightly altered their plans. So just clipped up 3 deliveries. That was Anderson's first ball, very, very straight. Robinson as well. So I sense they're going to bowl a bit straighter at KL Rahul and target the stumps. And, you know, that was what came out of the Anderson interview, really, wasn't it? The switch from his first spell yesterday, where he was bowling his stock outswinger, but giving the batsman a bit of room to leave the ball. And his second spell from this end, when he really came in, that wobble seemed...
Dinesh is alongside, and Rahul's played very well. He wouldn't have been opening 2 or 3 weeks ago, so is he more comfortable, as we saw there, with the ball going away, outside off stump, and just those 3 deliveries that we've highlighted there, I'm not saying he's got in a tangle, but it makes him play.
I think the tougher one for KL Rahul with his technique is the ball that comes back in. He's got bowled in LBW a lot of the times. Even if you remember the last tour that England toured to India in the winter, he got inside edge bowled in the T20 game, he got LBW 1 game. So the ball coming in is much more of a problem for him than the ones that go out. As Athers perfectly pointed out. But as a player, you need to keep evolving. I think he's looked at that part of his game and he changed his initial movement / trigger, if you might call it, a little bit. And hence he's able to deal with it a lot better than what he dealt with it in 2018.
Oh, but we chatted at length with Jimmy this morning. Obviously, he came from Burnley in the leagues. Can you remember the first time that there was a bit of chat about Jimmy Anderson? The people in the league saying, "Hey, there's this young kid coming through. Just watch for him."
I do, but he was opening the batting, and he bowled a bit, and then he sort of got into or under Lancashire's radar through Mike Watkinson, I think. But I remember vividly the game that we did. It was a one-day game. Bob Willis was with us, and he pressed the lazy switch, Bob, as Anderson was bowling. It got this, I think he had this, it's like a Mohican or a blonde streak in his hair. And Bob pressed the lazy switch and said, "Oh, these speeds right. This young man's bowling at 90 miles an hour." And of course, he was all over the place, his head dipping down and quite wild. But, you know, we've talked about Robinson and we've talked about Onions yesterday. The same chat was with the players. I remember Nasser Hussain playing Graham Thorpe and saying that this kid, Anderson's fantastic bowler. When he gets it right, it's a bit wild, a bit all over the place. But they talked about him in the nets and practice, a new kid who comes in. They did the same with Graham Onions just briefly. And now they're saying exactly the same with Robinson. Second game for Robinson, but the players, the batters, are saying, you know, this guy, you know, he's a really good bowler. As they're saying about Hamid. Hamid had a little flirt with Test match cricket, went in the doldrums, but now people who are watching practice are saying this lad's improved a lot.
And Burnley, obviously, I know you spent a bit of time still up in the North Lancashire towns. I mean, there must be incredible pride. I just showed him that list of wicket takers there. It's incredible, actually. 619 wickets for a fast bowler in Test cricket.
From Burnley. Yeah. I mean, it's a great story. Burnley is an old mill town. You know, it's had to reinvent itself, and it's not the most affluent of places along there. So, yeah, there will be great pride, as there is in the football team. The football team punches way above its weight in the Premier League on probably the least budget, but you know, Jimmy Anderson's family are still up there.
And DK, Jimmy's not somebody who's played IPL, of course. That whole T20 revolution's rather passed him by. So how would he be viewed in India? Having not played IPL and therefore not being in India a lot, is he still regarded as one of the absolute champions of the game despite that?
As an Indian batter, when you tour England, the first thing that would come to your mind is, I got to play an answer. And Broad, you got to add to the list as well. They got about 1,000 wickets amongst them. Every time India struggled here, these two have done really well. In the 2007 series that I was part of, a very different bowler then. He only had the outswing, he didn't have the in-swing much. And then he added that to the arsenal. And that made him the special trait of bowling in-swing and outswing with almost a very similar action is what makes him a very, very special bowler.
And you did that hour-long interview with Virat the other day. Do you think that is the hallmark of the great players? That the fact that they are constantly evolving, constantly learning, looking to improve and not standing still? Because the game doesn't stand still, does it? If you stand still as a player, the game will quickly overtake you. So you've got to keep having the humility to learn and evolve, I think.
Oh, absolutely, Atlas. I think this game is probably the fastest evolving game among many other sports going around on the planet because of the different formats, the different challenges. For a guy like Virat Kohli, he wouldn't have had a proper night's sleep yesterday. He must have been thinking, what do I need to do to counter this? Because it's a body blow. It's one thing getting out to an Ollie Robinson, but to a James Anderson, when he's answered all his questions, and for 7 years he hasn't got him out, he comes here, the first bowler, he gets a brilliant one. Yes, he will accept it, in many ways, just try and forget it, but he'll be itching to come out.
Wouldn't it be absolutely terrific if you could get the pair? It doesn't happen. We never do it. Get the pair of them sat down, because there would be great respect on either side. To sit them down and get the pair of them talking about batting and bowling and playing against each other.
I suspect it's the kind of thing you might get them to do at the end of their careers. But there is an issue there, isn't it? Whilst you're still playing, you don't want to give... I mean, Jimmy was very good this morning. He talked in detail about what he was looking to do, but you don't want to give away all your secrets, do you?
No, but, I mean, the main thing was that, and the batsman will know, that once it pitches, Jimmy Anderson doesn't know what's happening, neither does the batter. So he's given nothing much away. They can all see that it's a wobble seam, as they say.
So far, but 5 wickets in just his second test, as we were speaking earlier, to Mikey.
Getting 5 wickets this early in your career, do you think this is now you establishing the fact that you belong there, or is it still a long road to travel?
I hope so, but at the same time I know there's still a lot of hard work to do. This is just the beginning, and I'm ready for the hard work that it brings.
You have 2 stalwarts in that team, Anderson and Broad. Is it intimidating to be playing with them, to be bowling with them, or do they bring a sort of comfort level to you to know that they're there?
No, I think they bring a comfort level. They're both very good on and off the field. They've helped me a lot over the last few years, skill-wise, and sort of the prep and the professional side of the game as well. So they've been very good for me, and I love having them on the field.
Yeah, that sounds good. Good to have the oldsters around to help you come along. Let's get into your bowling now, Ollie. Your first wicket was a short ball, Rohit Sharma. You're not really that well known for bowling too many short balls, but that's how you got your first one.
Yeah, I just sort of saw that it was 5 minutes till lunch, and I knew I'd been bowling sort of the same length.
These great challenges, like
It's an interview again.
Are we all going to die?
Live games across 4 leagues, live on Sky Sports.
There, Cook. then. Gets his line right eventually.
That is the first strike of the day. It's Ashwin, the off spinner. The one spinner in this Indian team who has made the breakthrough. It's Alistair Cook, who has to go completely beaten.
Pulling very full there, Sean Sharma. Searching for a wicket. It needs to be very full to hit those stumps.
Pick up 4. A nice shot from Keaton Jennings. Fielder at points. There is a third man, but he's not going to cut that off. Nice shot from the England captain.
No point in chasing that.
Oh, onto the stumps. How unfortunate for Keaton Jennings. He had no idea where that was. Off bat, onto pad, then maybe a bit of boot, and it gently rolled back onto the stumps. Put into the pads,
Jamie round the wicket, a shrug from Milan. He goes up for the advice of his captain.
First impact is umpire's call, and it is umpire's call on the stumps. So you can stay with your original decision. I'll tell you when you're on screen. On screen now. Well done.
Lovely shot. There we go, Ashwin. Pulling a little too full, and Johnny Bairstow back into almost one-day mode, heaving it over mid-wicket. Beautiful shot from Bairstow, who's over pitch from Shami. There's a hint of swing, but Bairstow covered it. Oh dear, now where's this going to end up? Virat Kohli has produced the perfect piece of fielding at the perfect time to break a partnership that was flourishing, a partnership that seemed to be in no trouble whatsoever. Joe Root is not waiting. Drags it on. India at the knack of picking up wickets at good key times today, and they've done it again. Oh, he's given it. The appeal was enthusiastic. Dar took a moment or two just to consider his decision. And Jos Buttler is not going to question that decision. He feels that he knows what was going to happen.
Well, there's another. England have got themselves in a real jam here. Ben Stokes so much rested on him, and he flicks one back. Square through the offside. Simpkin moves on to 11, 257 for 7. Ooh, swinger. Look go for 4. This will trickle away for 4. Will it? Just. Dancing down the pitch and flicking into the leg side.
Could be going down. Definitely not interested.
They look close. Ishant Sharma has to be pretty full to hit the stumps, but they have referred it.
Impact in line, Chris, and hitting the stumps. You have to reverse your decision. I'll tell you when you're on screen. On screen now.
Well, that should be gone. It is gone. Flush on the pad. And looking like he was going dead on to hit the stumps.
Gone. That's the edge that they were looking for this time. The catch is taken.
And good bowling as well from Shami. You deserve that. A couple of in-swingers. And then the variation going across. And job done with the ball from India. 287 all out England. That's a good shot. Middle bat again this time. That is a sweet shot. That is pure elegance.
Japan now. Not remotely interested on indoor. England are.
Pitching in line, impact in line, hitting. Going on screen to reverse your decision. On screen now.
Sam Curran, 85 miles an hour. Pulls out to the ground.
Excellent from Sam Curran, but that's a pretty loose shot from KL Rahul. Oh, in the air, a line of slip. Just the 3 slips there. Late swing from Curran. Oh, that's gone, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's poor batting, that's great bowling. And Sam Curran is all over the Indian top order. Oh, another drive. Another big drive. May just have carried it. It would have been an incredible catch.
Pleasant. A flick and a flirt, Rahane. He's been troubled by Ben Stokes. Stokes has his man.
Full tight middle stump out the ground. Stokes is on a roll. India are 5 down. Oh, yes, no, down. Has it carried? It's going straight towards Milan. Jennings was moving across in front of him. Did that put him off? Did it carry? 100 for 5. Backed. Oh, no, 2 and 2. What is going on? Don't win test matches, dropping catches in the slips as regularly as England are at the moment. 2 in 2. Driven nicely on the up. 4.
Oh, drive, square. I don't think Broad and Root will mind that too much. The boundary that brings in his highest score in England. What is that hit? Given him boot first, clearly. Thinks Alindar. Pandya doesn't. He's reviewed.
Impact in line and hitting the stumps. Aleem, you can stay with your decision.
Jimmy Anderson will be saying about time he gets his first wicket. Target this time. It's a well-filled boundary. Oh, we've caught all the wrong. Tawid Milan, he'll be happy. England are very happy.
That's beautifully whittled. Beautifully played, beautifully timed. Finds the gap. Very clever. Very clever indeed. Second boundary in succession at the start of this over. Up comes the 200. Rashid does the trick.
A straight ball, and Ishant Sharma hangs his head. He knows that Kohli is on 97. Pushed it away behind square, and a remarkable player has adorned a remarkable day's cricket. A 22nd Test 100 for Virat Kohli, his first in England.
I think a tribute to his wife. What a performance. All the talk in the build-up was at the battle between Kohli and Jimmy Anderson. And on a day when the ball has swung and conditions have been in the favour of the seam and swing bowlers, Kohli has produced a masterclass.
The lead is still 66 and a healthy one for England, and Kohli knows that, and he'll want to try and whittle it down. It's 62 now, he's 105, 225 for 9. Full fine, Curran won't get there. That's the boundary to Kohli, who moves to 110. Lead now 56.
Over extra cover, that'll be 4 more. He moves to 117 now. Kohli on the charge. A bit off. He's got a chance. He's running back, but it's going to go over his head, skip away, and go for 4. Root was hovering halfway back. Kohli took the risk. Pulled hard. Man out there didn't see it. He's seen it now, it's gone for 4. 250 up for India, 251. Over extra cover, 4 more. This is quite brilliant from Virat Kohli. Plays the dab and he'll go for 4. And Wumi Umesh Yadav is on strike, but the damage has been done here. Kohli moves to 143. India trail by just 19. Umesh Yadav, the maiden, he's done his job. 268 for 9.
And that's 4. Or is it 6? 6. Yes, it's gone all the way. Well, nothing this time. Adil Rashid got what England have been looking for a very long time. It took them 149 runs, but the catch has been taken on this occasion.
What a knock from this man. Kohli, 149. His wife watches on and applauds. Well played.
Again, same thing in the second innings as the first.
Beautifully done, beautifully bowled. Ashwin just has a couple of balls at left-hander, and he has struck for the first time today. It seems that to him, left-handers might just be easy meat.
You need another as extra cover. That's 4. They are celebrating. Not too sure the umpire is that interested.
That is a brilliant catch. They may be struggling against the seamers to catch, but off the spinners, they are quite brilliant. Root made 14. It's 39 for 3.
They haven't seen it. Doesn't matter anyway, from the gap. From the gap. That will go. Brings up the 50 as well with 3 wickets down.
Nice and quiet, actually, trying to spell that little swinger outside off stump. Maybe a flick of the finger as well. Best read it and played it nicely. Good shot. Ball edged and gone. It was only a matter of time. He's turned him into an S. catching on this occasion is good. Edge this time, has it carried? I think it has. The Shikha Dhawan celebration, he's not reviewing that one, and he's been given. That is an excellent catch. Has that carried? It has. Get the extra catcher in, Kohli. Takes the catch himself. That is brilliant from Sharma. It is brilliant from the Indian captain. And England are in a whole heap of trouble.
First ball for Butler at the lunch. What a wicket that is. There will be no counter-attack from Jos Buttler because a very fine edge has gone through to Dinesh Karthik. Huge wicket for India and Ishant Sharma. Good shot from Curran. Driven firmly. Saw in the first innings that Curran played some nice shots through the offside.
It's going to be four. Took a chance, got away with it. Ball flew very quickly past the slip scoring.
Oh, Castled. Gets it absolutely right. He's swinging, there's movement. He's been a little bit wayward. Not this time. Floated down to third man. Precious runs these for England. 148 for 8. He'd take 220 now, I would think.
Plenty of conviction in this show. We didn't wonder how Sam Curran was going to play.
Down the ground again. Does this go all the way? One bounce for counter-attack.
Well, that's a way to go to your first half century in Test match cricket. You just bopped Ishant Sharma over extra cover for 6. Wedged and taken. Dhawan, no mistake on this occasion, and 5 for Ishant Sharma. I think he's hit that. Yeah, he has. He has, just trying to get a single down to third man. And he's guided it into the hands of Dinesh Karthik. But boy, did he show some fight. Without him, England would have been in a big, big hole. With him, they've just got half a chance. Very well played, Sam Curran.
Looking for a couple here. We'll go for 4.
Edge dropped.
Jimmy Anderson has had absolutely no luck in this test.
That's close. That's very close.
Will he ask for the third umpire to get involved?
I don't think there should be a review. It looked plumb. No stroke offered.
Gets the edge. The crowd right behind Stuart Broad, and he doesn't disappoint.
Beautiful delivery from Ben Stokes. Go-to man.
Starting after this.
Not going to miss out there.
Yeah,
A little bit of weight. 4 length. If you move to 50.
After this, I'm going to pick me back up.
Minimum of movement, minimum of fuss. Fantastic shot.
No.
They're just checking if it carried. I reckon it has. It's that man Curran again. sometimes you miss a window of opportunity in Test match cricket. Not in this game, because the ball has continued to do it and will do. He could get on a roll. Has he got that one? They're working it out. Ashwin's going to review it, is he? No, he's turned, he's walking off. Anderson could well get on a roll. 5 down, India. Tickle fine, they'll go away for 4. A rare bad ball from Anderson. Nice drive on Nia. And that will do Dinesh Karthik's confidence a lot of good. His first boundary in the Test match.
Jimmy Anderson, irresistible. 36 years of age. Who's caught that? Darren Mohan.
Beautiful shot. Beautiful shot, that is. Straight down the ground, that'll ease a few Indian nerves. Oh, really fine. Anderson just going over in those footholes, feeling his knee. And it's been a good over. It's been a good 10 balls for India. Another good drive, straight down the ground. 4 more. Clipped away, clipped hard, clipped before, save your legs, Hardik Pandya. Oh, that's close. He's got a long way across, yes. Well over those. What a moment. I'm sure Kohli will review that, but that was seriously close.
Like any bet, can we check with Aldridge? On the impact is inside and it is hitting the stumps. So you can stay with your decision. I'll tell you when you're on screen. On screen now. Well done.
Massive, massive moment in the game, and you can tell from the reaction. It's Stokes. More importantly, it's Kohli. 200 runs, out twice in the game. England believe. Oh, yeah, surely, yeah, gone. Ben Stokes makes things happen. He's turning this game round again in England's favour. England 2 wickets away.
Well, this is pure brilliance from Ben Stokes. That extra bounce that he gets.
Bouncer over, and again heading down towards third man. There'll be 4 more in that region. Huge appeal. Shake of the head from umpire Gaffney. Well, he's forward again. You can see there's reason to have doubts.
Mark review for
But a review it is.
Chris impact is in line. And it's hitting the stumps. I'll tell you when you're on screen. On screen now.
The cheer in the ground tells you all you need to know. Adil Rashid brought into the attack by Joe Root. Has done for Ishant Sharma. It was a googly again, as it was in the first innings. But this time, Hawkeye showing that the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps. India are 9 down. They are still 40 adrift and are now on the brink. What a shot that is from Hardik Pandya. Pandya swings away into the leg side. Anderson does well. Knocks it to Broad, and Pandya will take 2. The catcher. Stokes the ball. A delight for Joe Root and England. This magnificent Test match has come to a close, and England win it by 31 runs.
Well, that was a bit of history for you folks. England winning that Test match by 31 runs, winning the series 4 Test matches to 1. We're back live. and we're hopefully going to be getting quite a bit of cricket for the rest of the day. KL Rahul and Pant, how many times have they walked from that dressing room out onto the ground? Many times. This time they were hoping that they'll be out there until lunch. Of course, England were hoping that they can continue to take wickets. They only got 183 runs in their first innings, England. India at the moment 132 for 4, and KL Rahul standing between them and dismissing India quite cheaply. Those are the revised session for the day. Morning session 12:05 to 1:30. Of course, there's the usual 40-minute lunch. Afternoon session 2:10 to 4:25. Tea time 20 minutes. Evening session 4:45 until 7 p.m. And as we know, they never get their 90 overs in, so you get an extra half an hour. Late for dinner again. Here is Jimmy. Seems as if people are going round the wicket again to the left-handed Pant.
Any predictions, Mikey, for this session? Shorten the session from now on. Who's your money on in terms of walking to lunch with an advantage? How many wickets?
I've never put my money on cricket, that is for sure. But their odds are certainly in England's favour because of the conditions at the moment. Anyone would want to bowling in these conditions, not too sure about batting. So a lot will depend on the first 10-15 minutes, I think. Here we go. He's looking to play his shots. Jimmy Anderson thinking there was a sound. I didn't hear anything.
Just the one review remaining. It's a tough one, Mikey, isn't it? When you've expended the two very quickly, sometimes just unsure whether you should take it or not.
Nothing happened there. This will tell us if there was an edge. Ultra Edge says no. Nothing.
The decider. British and Irish Lions in South Africa. It's one each. This is the decider. Got a glorious day here. Clouds are very high. A lot of blue sky and sunshine.
Nothing happened there. Very interesting field placing here for the left-hander. There's a man on the point boundary. Not a third man, but on the point boundary. And the mid-off, as you can see, went just a fraction deeper than normal. They're looking for those big shots, and they're looking for protection. Square leg is right back on the boundary as well, makes an easy single. 133 for 4.
Rahul and Rishabh Pant out there. Then onwards, Ravindra Jadeja, the all-rounder. He's got a good record coming in at 7 and changing games around. Tries to score very quickly, attacking in mindset. Thakur can handle that, Mikey, but the rest, not so much. This partnership, like you said, is so crucial. Rahul, the batter that's in. Rishabh Pant, so dangerous as we know. You can immediately see by the way the field is set. As England realise the threat that Pant knees and sets a deep field, deep square leg, fine leg, 2 slips, gully, a deep point. Mid off is dropped very, very deep. The daring Rishabh Pant, take the field on, be attacking, be aggressive. See who wins.
Rahul made sure though that he pointed out to Pant that the mid-off was deep. Look where he is. Are we going to be leaving the field again? There's a bit of rain around yet again. Umpire may just think, oh, it will pass.
Rahul wanted to go on. He walked all the way to the head umpire. Polite inquiry, are we going off? Dump says no. And off we go. Do you agree with, when you have an aggressive batter who's new to the crease like Pant, you know what he can do, but do you agree with that deep field set, mid off, deep point?
No, I wouldn't put in everyone deep. You can't have point, mid off, deep, backward square. If you want to have one particular person or one side of the wicket deep because you know exactly where you're going for bowling, that's right. Well, they're going off again. Or are they?
Who's making the decision, Mikey? Well, we've got a committee. A little meeting. Jimmy walked in, looked like the chairman, had a few words, and we're playing. Good decision. Rishabh Pant outside the crease, well outside, a foot and a half maybe. A lot of batters do that to Ollie Robinson with his bounce. Deep square leg coming back in. A lot of field changes for 1 over, Mikey.
There's your route. Made sure that
Always like to see a good appeal, Bumble. Thomas Virat wobble seam, catches on the surface, nips back in, look at it appeal. Brilliant. You always start, if you appeal, give it everything you've got. Still appealing, he's past the batter, still appealing.
to another player. Just from our position, he didn't know what going for it. Made sure that he stopped the play, walked up towards the stumps and moved Jimmy Anderson back in. Very simple catch.
Just a bounce again, isn't it, Mikey? High on the bat. The surface indentations also sometimes make the pace of the pitch a little unpredictable. Just stopping on him. But always looking to attack. His hands well in front, no control. A hand coming off the bat handle as well. And Ollie Robinson has won the battle. Joe Root moving the field, creating some doubt in Rishabh Pant's mind, and he's got to go for 25. India 145 for 5.
enjoy presentations. Click clever.
A coffee for lattes that's just called latte. What if everything was this simple? Do you want to get married?
Yes, Taylor's. Great coffee made simple. Do you ever think of what your skin goes through every day? Dove Men Plus Care protects and cares for your skin with triple action moisturizer.
I'm down. Jadeja, the new batsman in. You were saying, Sanga, that he usually looks to push the game along. He certainly won't be pushing it as much as Pat did. Pat's 25 was off 20.
It's incredible the difference in the way Pat has kind of organised himself to play Test cricket. Very well out of the crease, well out in front, the point of contact, bottom hand coming off the bat handle, no control, no power. And Robinson is happy. They changed the field about 4 times, but ultimately ended up with the field that they should have had from the start. Short square leg moving that ball just to put some doubt in Rishabh Pant's mind.